Alright, what's up everyone? Welcome to another episode of Battling 101 Basics Team Building. I got a request to make a Reuniclus team. Reuniclus is a pretty neat Pokemon. I see a lot of Calm Mind sets on the ladder, but I'm going to be using Trick Room. I feel like Calm Mind Clefable is usually a little bit more better as a Calm Mind Sweeper as opposed to Reuniclus. Reuniclus definitely has its merits as a Calm Mind Sweeper, don't get me wrong. But with the advent of Mega Sableye, it's very common in overuse, so I'm just going to be using Calm Mind Clefable in tandem with a regular Trick Room Reuniclus, and I'll be using it with a balanced / stallish team, so I'll have a lot of slow Pokemon to take advantage of Trick Room. It'll be very useful late game. And Reuniclus hits very hard, so you'll be seeing a lot of Reuniclus domination on the ladder with late night laddering sessions that we'll upload pretty shortly. So anyways, we have the Reuniclus right here, and then we're going to pair it off with defensive course, because Reuniclus is very weak to stuff like Bisharp, the Scissors, Steel types, I guess, but we have Focus Blast, so I wouldn't say it's very weak to stuff like Magnezone or Excadrill. I mean, it can hold its own, so we'll be okay. But yeah, I'd say Mega Gyarados with Crunch, that could definitely pose a threat to Reuniclus as well. I'd just say just hard-hitting stuff in general, right? So Zard-y, if you don't get right, because this Reuniclus does not have Calm Mind. Mega Heracross, even though it's not as common as it used to be. Gengar, definitely. Mega Pinsir. Okay, so just really hard hitters in general, as well as the really hard-hitting Dark types and Bug types in the OU metagame. So I'd say Pinsir, Heracross not so much, but definitely the Scissors and Bisharp in this metagame. So because of this, we're going to surround this Reuniclus with a bunch of defensive backbones. We're going to surround it with charizard-x, one of my favorite bulky megas to use. We're going to be using Will-O-Wisp in order to cripple stuff like Scissors, Bisharps. Also, it's a very solid switch into them, and it really puts pressure on your opponent's team because it hits like a truck as well. So that's a very nice Pokemon to pair with Reuniclus. We'll also be using Hippowdon, right? We'll be using Hippowdon for Stealth Rocks, and we'll also be using it as a way to hamper Volt Switch users such as Raikou, such as Mega Manectric. Those electric types, you know, as well as where's Rotom. Rotom can also be kind of annoying, but anyways, just a ground type to switch into Volt Switches. Maybe get it Toxic up in there, spread some status, get the rocks up, just be a bulky defensive pivot for this team. It's very useful to have. Also, it's very nice for Talonflame, right? Talonflame can be very annoying, especially since my team here, apart from Skarmory, which I'll add later, there's really no flying resist, so it's very important to have some sort of backbone. Defensive backbone to handle these types of things. Also Pinsir, I guess, right? So, okay, so we have Reuniclus, charizard-x, and Hippowdon. So now we're going to be using Skarmory. And Skarmory is a very nice Pokemon to have too, simply because it has Defog for charizard-x, which you don't really need, but personally, as my type of preference, I like having some sort of Defogger or entry hazards removal for really slow teams that allow stuff like Ferrothorn to set up a lot of spikes. So yeah, I'm definitely going to use Defog. I'm going to be using specially defensive Skarmory because Landorus Incarnate, that's a bitch to handle. That's a really big bitch to handle. It also, Skarmory also handles stuff like Diancie. Mega Diancie can be very annoying to deal with, as well as the Latis. So Skarmory just handles a lot of things that the other two, Charizard and Hippowdon, might have a little bit more trouble dealing with. So that's always nice to have. And then we're going to be pairing this off with Clefable. Now, Clefable is going to be our Unaware Calm Mind Sweeper. Unaware is very essential to this team. It makes sure that we don't lose to a lot of the slow Calm Mind setups sweepers such as Magic Guard Clefable, as well as sub Calm Mind Keldeo that's been gaining a lot of usage recently. What else? I'd also say stuff like Swords Dance, Gliscor, that's been seeing a lot of usage recently. Dragon Dance, Altaria, that's another very common setup sweeper that Clefable kind of stops in its tracks. Calm Mind Slowbro, that's another very common one. And so just the slow Calm Minds and Swords Dance, Dragon Dance, whatever setup sweepers that give slower teams a lot of trouble, that's why Clefable is here. It also gives you Heal Bell, so stuff like Charizard, Hippowdon, and Skarmory aren't hampered by burns or paralysis or toxic or whatever. Very useful to have. Last but not least, we're going to be pairing this whole defensive core off with Alomomola. Now Alomomola gives us a water resist, which we didn't have originally, so this helps us against Keldeo a lot more, helps us against Starmies that don't pack Thunderbolt. Just a very solid, bulky Pokemon in general that provides Wish support. Wish support is very nice for Clefable since Clefable isn't a Magic Guard variant, so it's going to take damage from entry hazards a lot. So, yeah, Alomomola really completes his team because it just gives you a lot of safer switch-ins, and it has Regenerator, so it really doesn't die. And it really works well with Hippowdon and Charizard-x because just the grass type moves and the electric type moves, Charizard-x and Hippowdon will tank them very easily. And so here's our team. Here's a recap. We have Reuniclus here, the Trick Room Sweeper. Works very well alongside stuff like Charizard-x and Hippowdon and Clefable that are kind of slow and might need a little boost in speed to help it out. And then we have Skarmory for the defog, and as well as just the ways to defeat the really nasty special sweepers like Lando, Diancie, Lottie. And then we have Clefable just to ensure that we don't lose to the setup sweepers. Then we have Alomomola for the Wish support and just to complete our defensive backbone. Now you may be wondering, yes, this team is very weak to Life Orb Gengar. So, you know what, I've been playing around with this team a lot, and I've noticed that you can interchange Reuniclus with Focus Sash, Magic Guard, Alakazam. It really accomplishes a lot of the same things, except Alakazam is more of a standalone revenge killer, as opposed to Reuniclus, which relies more on its bulk. This is better against offensive teams, definitely, but it isn't as good against more defensive-oriented teams. So, you know, just pick and choose. You can use Reuniclus, you can use Alakazam. I personally like using Alakazam a little bit more, but Reuniclus is very nice as well. Okay, so here's the finished product. This is pretty self-explanatory for the Reuniclus. Quiet nature for lowering speed, max special attack, max health. Focus Blast, Psyshock, Trick Room, Shadow Ball. Now you may be wondering where the hell is Recover. You really won't be needing Recover, to be honest. You just want all the coverage you can get. Reuniclus is the YOLO mode Pokemon of this team. You just set up Trick Room and then you go on a rampage. You'll only be needing to use Reuniclus like once per game. Set up the Trick Room and just put dents in your opponent's team, or just go for like a clean revenge kill sweep or whatever. You'll usually be bringing Reuniclus in on either some secondary damage like Will-O-Wisp or like clean after a kill or something. You have Charizard, standard spread, 112 speed to outspeed like Adam and Gyarados, 148 special defense, and then 248 for HP just to make sure it's an odd number for stealth rock damage. Roost, Earthquake, Will-O-Wisp, Dragonclaw, pretty self-explanatory, careful nature. We have Alomomola with 112 HP, 144 defense, and max special defense, calm nature. I'm using knockoff because it's very nice to have against like anything really. I mean, it's always nice to have a knockoff user. Like if you don't have a knockoff user, I mean, knockoff is just one of those moves to where it's like very low risk but high reward. And then you have Scald for the burns, another very low risk, high reward move, and then the Wish and Protect. Scout for the burns, which protects for just supporting the rest of the cast. Very useful for Hippowdon, for Clefable, for Charizard in particular, just because of the electric type moves that Alomomola will attract. Skarmory here is Defog, Roost, Whirlwind, and Iron Head. 248 HP, max special defense, and then 8 speed, Careful Nature. I have Iron Head just to deal with fairies a little bit better, especially Mega DNC, which can be a bitch to handle if you don't have Iron Head, if you have Brave Bird instead, if you have like Counter. So yeah, Iron Head definitely mostly for Mega DNC. Also does decent damage to Landorus. You could use Spikes if you wanted over something, over like Iron Head, or over like Defog if you wanted, but I personally prefer having some hazards removal for really slow paced teams, and I really want an attack on most of my Pokemon. So I mean, if you want to use Spikes, go ahead, be my guest. But yeah, our Hippowdon here is Stealth Rock, Earthquake, Slack Off, Toxic. Be my guest if you want to use like Stone Edge or Rock Slide over Toxic. I just like using Toxic because it just catches most Pokemon. So not just like Thundurus and Talonflame and Pinsir for this rock type moves, but you can catch like Rotom, that's a very common switch into Hippowdon, as well as Charizards, just a lot of things. Toxic is a very nice move to have on Hippowdon in general. I have Sandforce because I have Unaware Clefable and Alomomola and Charizard, stuff that really wants its health like as high as possible. So I don't really need Sandstorm, I'm just going to go Sandforce. Standard spread, max HP, 144 defense and 112 special defense. The 144 defense and 112 special defense, I believe that helps Hippowdon take more from Raikou, Hidden Power Ices, and Thundurus, Hidden Power Ices. Last but not least, we have Unaware Clefable, which stops the setup sweepers in its tracks. Just 248 HP, max defense, 8 special defense. Unaware, Calm Mind, Heal Bell. Heal Bell is very nice for Hippowdon, for Alomomola, Charizard, Skarmory. Very useful to have for this team. Moonlight, because unfortunately you can't use Soft Boiled with Unaware. So you gotta make do with Moonlight, and we have Alomomola for Wishing, so this is a little more fast paced. Also another reason why we don't use Sandstream on Hippowdon, because you want to recover full health with Moonlight. And then we have Moonblast as our regular attack. So that is our team, and as I said earlier, you can definitely interchange Reuniclus with Sash, Magic Guard, Alakazam with 4 attacks if you want. Be my guest. We will be using this team in late night laddering sessions, so stay tuned.